Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining. Let's make a start with Radha Madhav. Jayo Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunj Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunj Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jayo Giravardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jayo Giravardhari. Shodanandan Vraj Jana Ranjana, Shodanandan Vraj Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jayo Radha Madhava, Jayo Kunj Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunj Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Hari Bol. Om Gyan Timridhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Ritam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Vreshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pran Mami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatu Priyascha Kirpa Sindhuvevacha Paditana Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Parcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasti Gaur Bhakt Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Vande Shri Gurundin Taranam Paramananda Madhuram Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Hari Om Tassat Narayan Namaskritya Naram Cheva Naruttamam Devyam Sasvit Vyasam Tato Jamaduriyat Nashta Presha Abdureshu Nitya Bhagavasya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we've talked about Narada Muni's life, and last time he was explaining to us about his material life and then his spiritual life and how he became who he did, and we'll just continue from there. And this will be the last session on chapter 6, and then we'll have an overview on Wednesday evening with His Grace Vishal Gauranga Prabhu from London, I think we all familiar with Vishagaranga Prabhu when our Guru Maharaj Jayapataka Swami arrives, they are like in charge of that part of things, South London, like that. They all come down and bring Guru Maharaj with them. So like that. So I think you all have met him, and so he'll be giving an overview on Wednesday evening. So let's go on to 34, and we're going up to 38. Etadi atura chitanam matra sparshaya muhu bhava sindhu plavo dristo haricharya nu varnanam. So this he certainly atura chintanam, of those whose minds are always full of cares and anxieties. Matra, objects of sense enjoyment. Sparsh, senses. Ishaya or Isha, by desires. Muhu, always. Bhav Sindhu, the ocean of nescience. Ulvaha, both. Drishta, experienced. Hari, Charya, activities of Hari, the personality of Godhead. Anuvarnanam, constant recitation. In translation, it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. The constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So the symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. He must be doing something, thinking of something, or talking about something. So we either talking loudly or we're talking in our mind, right? We're always talking either mentally or physically. We're always speaking. There's always something going on. And when we are quiet physically, when we're not speaking out loud, then somebody knows that we're thinking of something and we're lost somewhere else. Generally, the materialistic men think and discuss about subjects which satisfy their senses. So we're either looking at something face to face, or we always have the ability to mansik, imagine something in our minds. We can build stories or build plans in our head. So whatever we're seeing, you can always see in our in the mind, mirror of our mind as well. But as these things are exercised under the influence of external illusory energy, such sensual activities do not actually give them any satisfaction. On the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya, or what is not. Meaning of Maya. Excuse me. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as an object for satisfaction. So Narada Muni, by his personal experience, says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only should be changed. No one can check the thinking activities of a living being, nor the feeling, willing, or working process, because that's the mechanism that's always there while we are alive. There's always be thinking, feeling, willing. But if one wants actual happiness, one must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking of the politics of a dying man, one must discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artist, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the Gopis and Lakshmis. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by his causeless mercy, descends to the earth and manifests activities almost on the line of the worldly men, but at the same time extraordinarily because He is Almighty. He does so for the benefit of all conditioned souls so that they can turn their attention to transcendence. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nescience, the source of all miseries. This is stated from personal experience by such an authority as Shri Narad Muni. So Narad Muni is pointing these things out to. He's talking about material energy, about Maya, and how we need to change our thinking. And we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord. So this is very interesting. Narad Muni explaining so much to us, and he knows, what we need to hear, and he gives us that. So we have some information here. So Narad Muni was completely transcendental. Other sons had specific duties. So this is the sons of Brahmaji. So he was completely transcendental. Now the other sons, they could go to Vaikuntha. Say the four Kumaras, they could go to Vaikuntha, see Narayan. But only to the door, they can't enter. So guess they have to take permission to enter through the door. They can travel around the material world. But whereas Narad Muni, he can go anywhere he pleases. So just talking about the boat, which is mentioned here in the purport and in the translation. Everyone thinks material objects will give me satisfaction, but they never completely satisfy the living being. Material life is like an infection. You scratch, you get some satisfaction. So it's like material life is like compared to just the scratching, just temporary thing. It's just the itch you have and you scratch it. It's just that mundane thing. That's what it is. Or mundane process. And then easily cross the ocean. We need to strengthen our desire to change our conviction. We have to change our activities. We can go into same experience in Narad Muni, but we don't take the advice. What advice is given, we won't take it. We listen to it. We say, oh yes, he's so nice, and oh how great is Narad Muni. Yes, he's right. This is what we should do, but we won't do it. We'll agree with it, but we won't do it. So except the boat, the nature of the boat is changed by the Acharyas according to time, place, circumstance. Srila Prabhupada changed it from 64 rounds to 16 rounds. So that boat that we need for crossing, it changes through the yugas, and even in the same yuga, according to the Acharya of the time. So we've had many Acharyas in the Sampradaya, in the Kali Yuga, and each one has, according to time, place, circumstance, who they're dealing with, according to those people, they can make adjustments. You cannot change the principle, but you can make adjustments to the detail. So Srila Prabhupada, instead of 64 rounds, which is really the requirement if you want to advance quickly, but it's just not possible for us, because we have very busy lives. We have to earn, pay high bills and taxes and all sorts. We have so many demands. Our children have so many demands. Our mortgages are high. We need nice house, everything. No problem with that. So instead of reducing, our basic things, Srila Prabhupada has reduced the number of rounds to 16 rounds that we should really be able to manage and even that by giving up some of the mundane things that we may be doing, like watching TV till late, sleeping extra because we love our sleep. Like, a few sacrifices still have to be made, and for us it's still a lot, going to sleep, going to bed early, and then getting up early, like that. It seems hard work, right? But this is minor things that we're doing compared to, just imagine we're doing 64 rounds and going to work, how difficult that would be for us. So, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has reduced this to 16 rounds. So Narad perfected his life through Vaidhi sadhana, which we are doing, Vaidhi Bhakti. Worship of the deities in the mood of Lakshmi and Narayan. And this is what we are doing, because we cannot worship Radha Krishna directly, so we worship them in the mood of Lakshmi and Narayan. There is paraphernalia, belt, worship rules and regulations. We have scriptures, especially Panchatika scriptures, and the destination is really Vaikuntha, what we are doing right now, destination Vaikuntha. And reason we worship Lakshmi and Narayan, because we try to worship Radha Krishna will cause offenses. So for us, so we don't make offenses against Radha Krishna, they have allowed us, though they're in the form of Lakshmi and Narayan, where you can worship them in that form and not be too worried about causing offenses. So our spiritual journey starts with Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, with the holy name and mercy of the Lord Chaitanya, who come to Raganuga Bhakti. So Sadhana Bhakti, we have to strive for Raganuga Bhakti. Rules and regulations are good as a beginner. They help you to develop raga, which is attachment, and attachment to hearing and chanting. So that's the first attachment we need, is attachment to hearing and chanting. Being duty bound, we chant 16 rounds. That's our rules and regulations. But we need to move beyond that. Okay? Not that we are chanting because I have taken a vow to chant, but should be because I want to chant. Come to the path of raga or rag, attachment to chanting. By the process of rag marg, we can enter into Vrindavan. So we must have greed for this. We must be attached to our activities, not doing them just as rules and regulations. Anyway, so that's that. So that is like another process, and we will go deep into that. And there's a lot of subject matter there. So 35. Yamadivi yoga pathi kamaloba hatto muhu mukanda sevya yadvat tatha atma dada na shamyati. So yam adibihi, by the process of practicing self-restraint, yoga patahi, by the system of yoga, mystic bodily power to attain the godly stage, calm desires for sense gratification. So this calm, it doesn't, we think of calm as lust for, the opposite gender, but calm means desire for any kind of sense gratification. So lobh, lust for satisfaction of the senses. Hatha, curbed. Muhu, always. Mukunda, the person of Godhead. Sevya, by the service of. Yadvat, as it is. Tatha, like that. Atma, the soul. Atha, for the practical purposes. Na, does not. Shamyati, be satisfied. So it is true that by practicing restraint of the senses, by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of desire and lust. So it can be done by yoga system, but is it perfect way? But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. For this satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the person. Got it? And this more is a bit more stronger we're doing, because we are attaching ourselves to Krishna, and it's not just restraining the senses. So yoga aims at controlling the senses by practice of the mystic process of body exercise in sitting, thinking, feeling, willing, concentrating, meditating. At last, being merged into transcendence, one can control the senses. The senses are considered like venomous serpents, and the yoga system is just like to control them. On the other hand, Narad Muni recommends another method for controlling the senses. In the transcendental loving service of Mukunda, the personality of Godhead, by his experience, he says that devotional service to the Lord is more effective and practical than the system of artificially controlling the senses. And we've seen examples where the senses have been controlled artificially, like Vishwamitra is one very typical example. So you can do for thousands of years, but it just becomes like spring, because as soon as you let them go, they bounce back out. In the service of the Lord Mukunda, the senses are transcendently engaged. Thus, there is no chance of their being engaged in sense satisfaction. The senses want some engagement. To check them artificially is no check at all, because as soon as there is some opportunity for enjoyment, the serpent-like senses will certainly take advantage of it. There are many such instances in history, just like Vishwamitra Muni falling victim to the beauty of Menaka. But Thakur Haridas was allured at midnight by the well-dressed Maya and still could not induce the great devotee into her trap. So Haridas Thakur, who was following devotional service, he didn't show any interest. The whole idea is that without devotional service of the Lord, neither the yoga system nor dry philosophical speculation can ever become successful. Pure devotional service of the Lord without being tinged with fruitive work, mystic yoga or speculative philosophy is the foremost procedure to attain self-realization. Such pure devotional service is transcendental in nature, and the systems of yoga and jnana are subordinate to such process. When the transcendental devotional service is mixed with subordinate process, it is no longer transcendental, but it is called mixed devotional service. Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, will gradually develop all these different systems of transcendental realization in the text. So here's a warning here that don't try artificial methods, go for the real thing. And see if there's anything here we can add. So another example is Shobhari Muni. We were discussing yesterday at Sunday feast that he was mentioned 1,000 years. He was meditating, and then his senses just gave. He saw some fish, and then he got agitated just by that. And so what was the point spending so many years practicing controlling senses when they didn't really get into the control at all? So Vishwamitra, our evidence of artificially controlling the senses is futile. By Karma Mishra Bhakti, you can get to the heavenly planets. So when you're doing bhakti and your karma is involved, then you get to heavenly planets. By Gyan Mishra Bhakti, one is able to merge into the Brahman effulgence. So when you have like yagyas done, that's Karma Mishra. You do yagyas to go to the heavenly planets, or you do Gyan Yoga to liberate yourself and become one with the Brahman. And by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one is able to realize omnipotency of the Supreme Personality Godhead as in the super soul in the heart. But pure bhakti does not depend on karma, jnana, or yoga. So none of them are required, for it simply consists of loving affairs. That's what Krishna wants. He wants to love us, which he does, and he wants us to love him and show our love, and then that's it. That is also needed. There's no, like Srila Prabhupada said, there's no gymnastics or anything required, or extra analysis and thinking in our head like that, or doing big yagyas. Nothing like that is required. You just got to develop that love, which is there, but it's dormant. You just need to just bring it, just wake up. Jiva Jago. Just need to wake up that the love in the heart in the soul. Okay, we need to move this body or spiritualize this material body to devotional service. The yoga process of restraining the senses means restricting the senses. We don't want to restrict the sense, we want to engage the senses. That's the key. We don't want to not do anything, we have to do something. Even if you restrain them, they're waiting. Still they're waiting like 1,000 years like Shobhari Muni or 30,000 years like Vishwamitra. They're waiting for engagement. They want you to let go so they can engage. So we're just going to change the engagement. We want to employ the senses in the service of Krishna, and you cannot achieve satisfaction from restraining. You can only achieve satisfaction from engagement, proper service in the service of Mukunda. So we'll just carry on, otherwise I think over time. Sarvam tad idam akyatam yad prishtoam tavya nagaha janma karma rehesamme bhavtaschatam toshanam. So sarvam, all that idam, this akhyatam, described yat, whatever, pristha, asked by aham me tvaya, by you, anagaha, without any sins, janma, birth, karma, activities, rahasyam, mysteries, may mind, bhavataha, yo, cha, and atam, self, doshanam, satisfaction. O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization as you asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also. So the process of devotional activities from the beginning to the stage of transcendence is all duly explained to satisfy the inquiries of Vyasadeva. Narad has explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown by transcendental association and how they gradually developed by hearing the sages. The results of such hearing is detachment from worldliness, so much so that even a small boy could receive the death news of his mother, who was his only caretaker, as the blessing of God. So even so that as the blessing of God, his mother passing away. And at once he took the opportunity to search out the Lord. A sincere urge for having an interview with the Lord was also granted to him. Although it is not possible for anyone to see the Lord with mundane eyes, he also explained how by execution of pure transcendental service one can get rid of the fruitive action of accumulated work, and how he transformed his material body into a spiritual one. The spiritual body is alone able to enter into the spiritual realm of the Lord, and no one but a pure devotee is eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. All the mysteries of transcendental realization are duly experienced by Narad Muni himself, and therefore by hearing such an authority one can have some idea of the results of devotional life, which are hardly delineated even in the original text of the Vedas. So sometimes by hearing a personality you learn, because these things are not always explained clearly in the scriptures. In the Vedas and Upanishads there are only indirect hints to all this. Nothing is directly explained there. And therefore Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the mature fruit of all the Vedic trees of literatures. So these personalities are there to help us, to guide us by their own examples. So it's mentioned that Vedas and Upanishads are given in code form. So you have to decode them. And you have to learn how to decode them. You need someone who knows the Vedas and knows how to decode them. Narada said that my life story is satisfying because there's nothing like a life story compared to the text of the Vedas. When we hear Srila Prabhupada's life, it's so inspiring and purifying. This is Janma Karam Rahasyam. So when somebody gives you an example or a real life example, then you can understand that better than just reading theory or somebody just giving a set of instructions. When they show us how it's done, or what we're looking for by the personal example, then that sticks better. We can relate better with that. So very nice. Sutavacha evam sambhashya bhagwan narad vasvi sutam amantrya vinam ranyan yayao chandrishiko munhi. So Sutta Goswami Vacha said, evam this, sambhashya, addressing Bhagwan transcendently powerful, Nardha, Nardmuni, Vasavi, named Vasavi Satyavati, Sutam son, Amantrya, inviting, Veenam, instrument, Naranyam, vibrating, Rananyam, vibrating, Yayao meant Yad Shikha, wherever willing, Muni the said. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadev, Srila Nath Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will. So he just, let's say, rode off into the sunset for his next destination. Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. And this freedom is obtained only through the transcendental service of the Lord. Illusioned by the external energy, everyone thinks that he is free, but actually he is bound up by the laws of nature. A conditioned soul cannot freely move from one place to another, even on this earth, and what to speak of one planet to another. But a full-fledged free soul like Narad, always engaged chanting the Lord's glory, is free to move not only on earth, but also in any part of the universe, because he travels at the speed of mind. He just has to think of a place and he's there. Always engaged in chanting the Lord's glory, he's free to move not only on the earth, but also in part of the universe, as well as any part of the spiritual sky. We can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom, which is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. There is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop him from his free movement. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of the devotees is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it, even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. The freedom surrendered of the Lord does not mean that devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. So this 37. So until you come to transcendental service of the Lord, you are not free, because you're bound by the Maya, or the chain, the shackles of the three gunas. We remain bound by the controls of material nature. You get freedom from the heavy burden of this world. Narad is free to move anywhere. He has free movement. We meet devotees by good fortune. It's not by arrangement. It's just right place at the right. It's not by arrangement. It's just right place at the right time. Sure. We meet devotees by good fortune. So we must have some pious points that we meet them, we get Sharda, and then we work our way up like that. And even then, just to have the association, we need to have some kind of purification that is that's available to us. Otherwise, there's 1008 excuses can come up, or some things can come up, and we're not able to have the association. Eho devrishi danyoyam yat kritim shringa danvanaha Gayan Madhyan Idam Tantra Ramyati Aturam Jagat. So all glory to Dev Rishi, the sage of the gods, Danya, all success, Ayam Yat, one who, Kirtim, glories, Shrang Danbanha, of the person regarded, Gayan, singing, Madhyan, taking pleasure in, Idam, this, Tantra, by means of the instrument, Ramyati, enlivens, Aturam, distress, Jagat, world. So all glory and success to Srila Nadmani because he glorifies the activities of the person regarded, and so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. So Sri Nadmani plays on the instrument to glorify the transcendental activities of the Lord and to give relief to all miserable living entities of the universe. No one is happy here within the universe, and what is felt as happiness is Maya's illusion. The illusion and the Lord is so strong that even the hog who lives in a filthy stool feels happy. No one can be truly happy within the material world. Srila Nadmani, in order to enlighten the miserable inhabitants, wanders everywhere. His mission is to get them back home, back to Godhead. That is the mission of all genuine devotees of the Lord, following the footsteps of the great sage. So it's mentioned that the pleasure of material pleasure is so powerful. The pleasure of spirituality is so powerful that it enlivens others. Soul is looking for real happiness. Otherwise, material energy gives its own type of happiness. As we grow up as a child, as a youth, as an old man, we find happiness in different things. So that keeps changing, right? Our senses want different they have different demands with age. I remember when, as a child, you go into a sweet shop, it's like coming to heaven. There's so many sweets to choose from. And now we're trying to avoid, we think 10 times, should be, even we're thinking about our teeth, about our body, what it will do to us, about the calories, thinking so many things. And, even if you did enjoy, but in the back of your mind, you think, that I shouldn't have done that. Like so many counter acts against that gratification that dispose all the fun. Child, you never think twice, and you want all the sweets and have a bag full of them. So your interests change. The sense gratification changes in material life. Those things that we couldn't live without before no longer interest us, right? It's a constant illusion of Maya that controls us into thinking that this thing is happiness, but then we grow out of it and move on to something else. There is no constant in Maya, but the holy name can be constant through your life if you acquire the taste. So it's an acquired. Holy name is an acquired taste. Okay, what seems poison at first becomes nectar. It's like that. It may taste bitter at first, but once you acquire that taste, it becomes very sweet. So it's like some, even material things, they acquire taste. They might taste horrible a few times. Then you just get used to it, And holy name is ultimate, that you may have no interest, but then once you get the taste, you get the ruchi, and then there's really no looking back. There's nothing else to compare to that. And Śrīmad Muni and Srila Prabhupada, they've explained so nicely the path that we need to follow, and given examples through Nadmuni's life that even as a child, he was determined to follow that path, and he was successful because he was determined, he was sincere, and we have to build that sincerity. In the Kali Yuga it's not easy, but looks like the externally the Vedic bhakti is not, there's not much demand. 64 rounds gone to 16. If you tell a beginner that you go 16 rounds, then, what 16 rounds? But now hopefully to us is part of our daily life and doesn't seem like a very big task to do, because we managed to fit it somewhere in our lives, in our timetable, slotted it, and we know we've got to do it. It's not a big thing, right? So the problem is not on the outside. The problem is in our inside. So it's the inside we got to work on. We managed to fit our Vedi Bhakti outside. Now we got to fit it mentally as well and become attached to that. What we are doing, the chanting and the deity service, we understand it, be in the present when doing it, and change our desires, change our thoughts, and change our feeling, willing, and acting. Thank you so much. I'd like to hear from yourselves. I'll just stop sharing. Hare Krishna. So thank you once again all for joining, and we'll start with the Pundikaksh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Donald Pradam. Hare Krishna devotees. This is like continuation to yesterday's Sunday Sangha session I felt initially, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a seminar by a professor to PhD students, and they were asking so many questions to him. And the session was titled like why we need to have Bhagavad-Gita and Vedantas now. And one of the students said that you started suffering, but I do not have any suffering. I don't have any sufferings in my life. Then the person said, if you say that you're not suffering, then you're cheating yourself. And he said, no. When he's talking about the Bhagavad Gita, he said, I can refer to so many books, and I can relate myself to them. Then he asked him, okay, how can you not relate yourself to the Vedas then? Because you're still taking birth, you're getting disease, you're dying. The Vedas addressing that part, then how can you say that they are not related to you? And then he asked him that which part of Veda should I read then? How can I know that my suffering can be addressed by what part of Veda? Then he said, any Vedas which deals with your self realization, that is what you need to consider, and not the part which are like rituals only, for which you go to perform them because of wanting something. So in the text one, Prabhupada, Narad Muni was explaining that, Prabhupada explained how devotees need to spend their life, or in fact, in a material person as well. And during my Bhakti Shastri class, Prabhuji asked one question that even materialistic need people, they need a break. Even spiritualists, because they also do so many activities, they also need a break. Then what's the difference between a bhoga enjoyed by a spiritualist and a non-spiritualist? Then he said that a materialistic person, he will take a break, but he will go to a resort, enjoy some time, spend some money, and come back and do work again, same work. Again, he became tired, and again he will go and enjoy the resorts. Whereas a devotee, if he is doing a service, heavy service, then instead of doing heavy service, if we need some break, he'll convert into a smaller service for which he will not stress more time. Like for example, your mate waking up in the early morning doing chanting with everybody. So instead of that, you can engage yourself into some other service, but you're always connected to Supreme Lord. You're always taking a service which will keep you intact with your devotional service. And so Prabhupada is explained very well in the purport we read today, that how can you actually spend all your time in the spirituality, because that is the ultimate thing. And you said one point, Prabhuji, chanting should not be done like a promise, because you have taken a promise with the spiritual master. I always feel like that same thing. I always try to rush my chanting. First, I start very slowly, and then when I see the time, I say, "Oh, the time is running out, so I need to do it more and more quicker." But I realize more quicker, what satisfaction I will get. But ultimately, it is just finishing the rounds. But I should change in that, like, do it for the pleasure of the Lord, not for just as because I've taken a promise that I will do 16 rounds. And we have so many processes like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, all. But bhakti yoga is considered highest because bhakti yoga is ultimately connecting you to the spiritual Lord. I mean, we need two satisfaction: mind satisfaction as well as soul satisfaction. But mind satisfaction, ultimately it will not liberate you from this world. But soul satisfaction, when you connect your satisfaction with the pleasure of the Lord, that is what we need. Um, and chanting is very simple process. Whatever you're doing, you can still continue your chanting. Today morning, I was doing my chanting, and my wife asked me to come and help her in the kitchen. Initially, I was very angry also that she disturbed my chanting time. But later, I felt like if I'm doing 16 rounds only for the sake of promise, then what is the use? I can do chanting even while helping her as well. So I continued my chanting, and you told about that point today. It's very nicely, Prabhuji. Yeah, there are so many points, but I'll leave to other devotees, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it was beautiful reading. Thank you so much. Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. You explained it. Yeah. This reading today, there's so much in there. I'm just going to ask Hina Mati because she might have to leave before we come to Kiran Prabhu. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Very nice class. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I think Prabhuji has already made some very nice points about chanting, and the only thing I was thinking of as well, to his point, was almost, yes, we've been in this age, we are required to chant a minimum of 16 bounds, but we should be chanting more than that. So it's almost spontaneous. And as Srila Prabhupada said, it should be going on 24 hours a day, really. So yeah, it's almost like it's something that can be done at the same time simultaneously with other things as well. I was also thinking about how some nice points that you made was around how the subject matter of our attention should be changed from the mundane to the spiritual, to Krishna, essentially. So it's just a matter of changing the topic, really, the topic of our attention and our topic of our speech. And by engaging our senses in devotional service, there's very little chance that we'll be preoccupied in sense gratification as well. So the goal ultimately is devotional service. Until then, unfortunately, we'll be bound, or I'll be bound to material nature, and we're stuck here essentially due to those materialistic desires. So, Krishna keeps us here, gives us what we want, and it's only at that point when we elevate our desires that's the escape strategy essentially, and then Krishna will then provide us the help and the support to take strides, to help us take more strides in our devotional service. So he knows that's what we want as well. And it's ultimately its own devotional service which releases us. So that was my key points from these verses. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, the desires is the bond that binds us with the material world. Thank you so much. Kiran Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So many points. I'll try and see if I can join the dots if I can. We live in a world of turbulence. There's turbulence all around us. We just like wall-to-wall noise. If it's not noise, we need perpetual activity. So we're like on a roller coaster of ups and downs and ups. And it's true. We struggle with peace, contentment, and silence. And hence we have to keep ourselves busy by doing all sorts of rubbish. But let me give you an example. When I used to teach or train, I used to often go into sessions and just sit for about 5-10 minutes. It used to freak people out because their minds are wandering. Silence is golden. Silence is so powerful that we must bring our senses and our mind into control. And it's only in silence that the agitation of the world goes and that we find the Lord. We can find that divinity in that absolute peace and silence through our meditation. That is that direct connection with the divine. Of course, there is the chanting. The chanting is the prescribed method that's been given to us. And that chanting done in the most way which is unproductive, because we do it in a prescriptive and mechanistic way, which, yes, the Lord's name is heard and is sounded. However, until there is the shedding of the tears, until there is the raising of the hairs on the back of your head, until there is the palpitations on your hands and the heart, then the chanting isn't connecting with the Paramatma and the Super Soul. That chanting has to be effective and has to be purposeful. And so we have to learn to get out of this world of trying to get things done quickly, and have to get out of this world of becoming too agitated by the world that's around us. And, you know, over the years, the millennia, there were different methods. You had to do austerity for thousands and thousands of years. You had to do yagnas. You had to do all sorts of deity worship. We've been given a very simple opportunity. You don't even have to do 64. You don't even have to do 132. 16 rounds done well will serve that absolute purpose. Be attached to the sound of chanting. Be attached to the meditation which accompanies the chanting. And the example of Vishwamitra is a good example. 30,000 years plus. But the simple sound of ankle bells was enough to distract him. Let's be encouraged by people like Haridas Thakur, who had a prostitute outside his door. I think that's the story. However, he was more preoccupied with his meditation and his chanting that even the prostitute eventually became a devotee one day. And hence there's so much to be gained from just these few verses that, you know, initially we may have to work hard to fake it, to make it, but eventually it will become proper. Even Sachin Tendulkar had to learn to make the proper cover drives and the hook shot. He had to find the sweet spot. There is a sweet spot to our chanting, and if that sweet spot we find daily, then that chanting and our connection with divinity becomes that much more beautiful. Let's listen and hear what happened to Narad Muni. His mother died at 5. He said, this was a blessing from God. I need to find God, because that is part of the journey. Everything is a blessing from God. And it's true. These things, you think, how can it be a blessing from God? Your mother's just died. Your primary carer's just died. And hence the Vedas and the Upanishads have to be decoded. What does it mean that your mother's died and you've been left on your own? There's only one mother and father that will look after you, and that's the divine. The power of divinity is so powerful. It's an acquired taste. And we're so fortunate that we are relishing that sweet nectar. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Absolutely. And that is the part of our surrender, that we think of Krishna as our parent and guardian. And I mean, young Narad Muni, he already had all this knowledge. It's amazing. Thank you, everybody. Puri Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, very nice points by everyone. Yeah, I'm thinking like the reason I am suffering is because our life is too complicated. We are still running here and there rather than simplifying our life and devoting our time more to Krishna. And like when Pundrakaksh Prabhu said he has doing the 16 rounds, last rounds in a rush. And then for myself, when we finish the round, the happiness, oh yeah, I've done my rounds. So it is just like a rule. We are just following, yes, I have to do my 16 rounds. So, but the true love for Krishna is when we are thinking of Krishna all the time. And that's what I had been doing. Like I was doing my 16 rounds in the morning, but now with the change of circumstance, but I'm just chanting all the time because I think that is the aim. So we have to remember Krishna all the time and accept whatever comes our way is Krishna's plan and is for the best, whatever is happening. And the other point was like how Narad Muni was free to move, and because he was in the service of the Lord, and we feel trapped, and we are in so much misery and everything, but we still don't want to go from here. And I was thinking, I think it was Indra Day when he came in the form of a hog, and then the Lord said, "Come back," and he was too happy in this material life. Oh, my wife, my children. So I think we are like that. So just in illusion that this is happiness. So, but we all know, we have experienced that true happiness is only when we are engaged in the service. So when we are at the sanghas, everybody is so happy. We forget all our sorrows and problems. But then we get out, we step out of the door, then everything comes flooding back. So I don't know, Prabhuji, what is the true, solution to this? Because I always say, the life we had when we were in India, simplified life. I talk to my sister as well, and she always say, I just want to go and live the way we were. We don't have to worry about any gas bill, anything, So how simple life was, and we were all happy. And grandmothers, they're telling you the stories from Bhagavatam and everything. So, but this modern life is the cause of all the problems, keeping us away from the Lord. So we can just pray as congregation, we get more closer, so we can engage in glorifying the Lord. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, as children, we're so protected that we don't understand what the adults are having to go through, the plans they make, and the kind of things they do, the sacrifices they do. As children, we think everything's very simple, right? And as when we grow up, when we are adults, and the children then realize how much has to be done. And life is complicated, and we get lost in that complication, and we live the animalistic life of eating, sleeping, mating, defending, that we forget the extra bit that is important for the human body. We forget about that because we get so engrossed, just like the hog. We know better than the hog because we're stuck in that intimacy with friends and family, and we're just happy in that scenario, whereas there is something above that, and that's why there's scriptures, that's where there's sadhu sangha, to awaken us up from that don't be just stuck in the animal way, because whatever you're doing, the animals are doing the same thing. You can watch a documentary on animals, and they're exactly doing the same thing, protecting the young, going out looking for food, looking for shelter. They're doing exactly what we're doing. And the children are hiding under their mother or protected by their father. Same thing. But we have something extra, and we should miss that opportunity. Thank you so much.
I think animals are doing more, Prabhuji, because I don't think they expect anything in return. Whereas we as humans, we still expect, oh, I'm looking after my children, they will look after me, when I'm old.
Yeah, right. Absolutely right. Yeah, we're expecting a return on our investment. They don't expect a return on the investment. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. Suresh Prabhu, nice to have you. It's okay if you're driving. That's okay. We can go on to Ajay Prabhu. There you go.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so it's, I think within this couple of previous chapter and this chapter, just dawned on me how important it is, humility is actually, because I think it point of view from Srila Vyasa, as in he's a great sage in his own right, compiled to the Vedas and all the religious scriptures, but Shastra, but when Narad Muni came, he could have been stubborn. He could have said, "No, I'm okay. No, I don't. No, I'm fine. I don't need any help. No, I can figure it out myself and everything." Which is what a lot of people would tend to do, especially if you are very knowledgeable and obviously well revered and everything, but now he had the, he understood the greater good, and he understood the importance of accepting guidance from a spiritual master in this sense, since it's the importance of accepting guidance from one who can guide you. In other words, it's easy to get caught up thinking we can fix everything, but sometimes you do need some guidance, and the best guidance is from Krishna or his bona fide representatives. So obviously in this case he took guidance from Narad Muni that composed Bhagavatam, guide the masses towards bhakti, and then we are taking advantage of this 5,000 years later. So something around that time limit. So yeah, so it's just when we take advantage of the resources, the good resources, then we can really advance. But when we don't, then we unfortunately, or we try to take the difficult path for no reason, that's when things get awkward. So yes, Vyasadeva, Narad Muni, these are great personalities that we should be grateful for, that they continue to provide us guidance even today. So yeah, it's a wonderful process. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Radharani?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Pranams, everyone. It's wonderful end to this beautiful chapter. And what a journey we had so far. I was thinking since we started Open Canto 1, and how these chapters have been beautifully compiled. And it's amazing that, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, every verse, any chapter, any verse, when it's read or discussed amongst, and when the realizations are pouring from each one, because all of us are part and parcel of Krishna, but when we have our realizations are part of our journeys which we had, for the eons. God knows how many lifetimes we've been trying to serve Krishna, or we have been actually shown the path by Narad Muni and by Acharyas, like our lineage, like Srila Prabhupada, the most recent one for us, and the present ones. So we've been shown this path time and time again, and our souls, they have sometimes refused, sometimes they have rebelled, sometimes they have been, sometimes they have been docile. They're just, okay, I will listen, but I will not apply it properly. I will still want to do what I think is best for me. I think this has been the jugglery going on between us and our souls time and time again. And we have sat in the sanghas. Who knows? One of us might have sat in among the sages of Naimisharanya. Who knows? Who knows? One of us might have been a Brahma of one of the universes. So, there are so many question marks, but they're so beautiful though, because we never lose. We are still part and parcel of Krishna. Prabhupada reminds us again and again. And the first shloka of today's class was telling us that even the most ardent sense gratifier, they can also cross this material ocean with the sincere chanting. And Srila Prabhupada always says, minimum chanting of 16 rounds. So minimum is 16, and if you have more time, do it nicely. But sometimes we are rushed through. If we are doing it in a nice slow pace, our mind plays games with us. Then we have to, just to stop the mind, sometimes we have to speed up, because the mind is playing tricks with us. But some days the same mind is so blissed out that it will say that, okay, you can chant slowly, chant nicely, but yet the main thing is to look after this body, to keep the health proper, so the mind will also comply with us. And also, we can't thank enough our previous acharyas and Narad Muni, the chapter which we have been covering, that if it wasn't for Narad Muni, this Bhagavatam wouldn't have been written by the, like they say, Karkamals of Srila Vyasadeva. And like Acharya reminded us so beautifully, that the humility, this is the real humility. Nowadays, all of us are, I would say, including myself, we are so full of ourselves that if we are giving some guidance or some advised by someone, we always try to show our mind. We should say we as ourselves as well, because we are our minds, we are our souls, isn't it? We have got no control nowadays. People have got so much attention deficit that the younger generation is suffering. We can see with the all the nonsense, because the elders haven't got the patience. So how come the younger ones will have patience? That if I think Srila Vyasa, if nowadays if one of us was in the position of Srila Vyasadeva, Narad Muni would have come to us. We would have said, no, I know better. I've learned better. So I will think. We wouldn't have even said, I will think about it. So just look how the whole world was created for us, how everything was put into place for us, because they knew when the Kali Yuga was going to commence that the jivas of Kali Yuga will need this knowledge more than any other yuga they needed. And we are so lucky in that particular Kali Yuga where Mahaprabhu comes, where Krishna comes, and with this knowledge comes, and they remind us that we have started those beautiful 10,000 years of bhakti where this is going to be applicable. And look, we have been given internet, we have got everything on our fingertips. We have got our minds anyway all the time with us, our thoughts and desires. But how are we going to bring them back towards bhakti? How are we going to engage our senses to a bhakti is upon us. So it's so important for us to sit in these sanghas and take the association. And this is just for an hour, but the rest of the day we have our mind giving us association, but we have to bring from moment to moment back to its what do you call it, constitutional position, like Srila Prabhupada says. I used to never understand in the beginning what does Srila Prabhupada means by constitutional position. But yes, our constitutional position is to follow, to live our lives with Krishna in the center, do all the activities, whether it's earning the artha, whether it's desiring things, or whether it's serving, whether it's even asking for moksha. The moksha also has to be for Krishna, that it has to take us closer to Krishna. But now we know, as sadhakas, as the practitioners in the bhakti, we don't even want moksha, we just want Krishna's service, life after life, whether it's in this world, in any of these planets, wherever Krishna desires us to serve, wherever we can be any help to Krishna, we should be asking for that service. And yes, if the time is right, Krishna will make arrangements for us to go to his Golok as well one day. But that is not important. Our goal is to serve Krishna. So no hankering, no lamentation. We know what our position is and we know what we have to do. Chant some sincere rounds, and the rest Krishna will make fall into place, whether it's our Vaidhi Bhakti or perfection of Vaidhi Bhakti and slowly becoming desireless and going towards Krishna Prem. It will happen one day. Yeah, every time we read Bhagavatam, I get reassured that yes, we are on the right path and our anartha nivritti is taking place. This is the longest process because we've got so many anarthas. It's only, when somebody just presses our one button, we realize that what's wrong with us. So thank you, everyone, which is going on and on. I just realized. Thank you for your association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So nothing, we won't have a class on Wednesday morning. We'll meet in the evening, 8 till 9. And hear from Vishal Grangapur. So very, very nice.
Krishna. Beautiful.
And so look forward to that. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Samved Bhaktivedanta ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.